Hey guys, my guest tonight, medium Nancy Matz, and I will be talking about EVPs. How to get good ones, how not to get good ones, and we're actually going to try and do some live EVP work right here in the studio. We'll be right back. Grab your popcorn and snacks. Find a comfy spot, take a seat or lie down, and let me transport you to a place of fantasy, ghost stories, ancient legends, odd creatures, alien encounters, and other magical topics. You may even decide to join the conversation. From faraway lands to your own backyard, with a small dash of pixie dust. Turn out the lights and open your minds. The journey is about to begin. Good evening, everybody. How's everybody doing? I hope I heard you say yes. I heard a resounding yes in the background. My name is Charlotte. I'm going to be your host for the next hour. I'm also the owner of the California Haunts Paranormal Investigation Team, based out of Sacramento, California. We are... Whoop, just a second. I put the wrong thing up. Let me close it down. There we go. That's what I get for not pushing the right buttons, huh? Okay. I hit the wrong button. Anyway, my name is... If you like that tonight, right? Anyway, my name is Charlotte. I'm going to be your host for the next hour. I'm also the owner of the California Haunts Paranormal Investigation Team. What is this? This is a sample. Why is this thing coming up? It should be gone. Be gone. Okay. Wow. Wrong buttons. Because I can't see nothing. It's because I'm blind. So I hit the wrong buttons. Anyway, my name is Charlotte. I'm going to be your host for the next hour. We'll try to spit that one out. I'm also the owner of the California Haunts Paranormal Investigation Team based out of Sacramento, Northern California. But we do all over California. We've got coverage in Oregon, Nevada, and Washington as well. So welcome, welcome, welcome. And if you need to find us for what you think might be a paranormal need, just Google us. We'll pop right up. You can either Google eyes. See, you can either Google California Haunts Radio, California Haunts Paranormal Investigation Team, or you can find us over at the meetup, California Haunts Paranormal Investigation Team meetup. Okay? That being said, now that we're talking about social media, if you are watching from Facebook tonight, and a lot of people are, please be sure to hit that follow button if you haven't done so already. You think I have this stuff memorized, right? And also during the show, please chat amongst yourselves in the chat room. Leave us a thumbs up, those happy heart thingies, or smiley faces. That would be really great, because what that does is it lets Facebook computers know that there's action on the account, and they will put us out to more people. So, to see the show. And that being said, also, if you're at home and there's more people in your house or your car or whatever, and you're watching the show, tell them to come on over and watch it. You never know, they might like it, right? Always looking for followers, always looking for subscribers. Which brings me to YouTube. You go over to YouTube, there's over 900 videos of this show. Different topics. I'm a photojournalist. And I tend to like to change it up, right? I like to change it up. So anyway, there is stuff that I'm putting into categories. So if you're really into medium Nancy Matz, you can go to her category. You can go to the category for cryptids. The list is endless, okay? So that's just something you can do over YouTube. And if you haven't subscribed already and you like what you see and hear today, please feel free to do so. We're always trying to build up our subscribers. It's gone very well, all right? And Twitch. Twitch works the same way. YouTube and Twitch work the same way that Facebook does. Thumbs up, comment, smiley faces, whatever. That helps them find us and put us further out there. Out there in the Mario Land, right? Mario Land. Because when I drop off the screen here, where do I go? Same place the Marios go when they drop off their screen. All right. So I'm done with all that. And I do have a class coming up on the weekend of the 11th. I believe it's the 11th. It's going to be a Ghost Hunting 101 class to train, because we're looking for team members. We've had some team members retire, and so we're looking for team members. So please be sure to check that out over at the California Haunts team page over on Meetup. So California Haunts Paranormal Investigation Team. It's been a long night. I have a 16-year-old dog who I think he's partially blind, and he has sundowns. And what sundowns are, for people that have never dealt with senior citizens and things like that, they wake up at night, and usually they'll stay up all night because they're seeing stuff, or they think they're seeing things. It just depends on each different patient. I'm not a doctor, Don't get the idea that I'm a doctor, but it just depends on the different patients how that works. The dog is doing it. He's done 3 nights in a row. I think he's really quiet right now because yesterday he started about this time. And he didn't shut up all night. I mean, that's just what he does. And being partially blind, I'll walk in there and I have my 7-foot Christmas tree up, 7.5-foot Christmas tree up in honor of my mother. And it's funny because the dog looks at the tree and thinks, I guess he's seeing shadows. Or maybe he's seeing paranormal stuff. Who knows? But whatever he's seeing, he's looking at the tree. So I'm thinking he's mistaking the tree for a human. So it makes for an interesting night. Now I have to block things off because he's forever getting caught places. But he eats really good. He walks really good. And, it's just this crazy sundown thing he's going through. All right. Well, tonight's going to be kind of a different show. As I pointed out in the beginning credits, is that we're going to talk quite a bit about EVP. There's mistakes you can make when you're an investigator getting EVP. There's good things you can do when you're an investigator. And there's things that trained investigators are able to do with EVPs. So we're going to talk about that, Nancy and I. Also, towards the end of the show, we're going to attempt a couple. I do not have my other mic for some reason, or my other recorder for some reason. So if we do get something, then what will happen is that I'm just going to play it back. And these are pretty sensitive, so if I get something along the line of a Class A, which I'll explain during the show, we should be able to hear it with this. I wish I had the other recorder. In fact, I have a gearbox that I took to a prelim, and it's a smaller box that I use to go on these things. I don't know where it's at right now, so it's probably in my car. That's the kind of couple weeks I've had. Just run, not finding things, blah, blah, blah. So anyway, that's what's going to happen tonight, but it's going to be an interesting conversation because there's a lot of... Well, let me get the chat room here. Who we got? Hello, Pam. Hello, Jerry. Good to see you all. Pam Nishikawa, thank you so much. Welcome, welcome, welcome. One quick thing before I continue is that it's going to be that time of month for me, and I've got half of my cash donated to me, so half the cash came in to keep this thing going, but there's still a little bit that needs to be done. And if you guys could help me out with that, that would be great. Put it over at Venmo or PayPal. You're not required. I'm just saying I just replaced my backup hard drive this week. So, I'm trying to get my bills paid and do what I have to do. So, you're not required or anything, but that would be nice. Help keep me on the air, okay? I'd really appreciate it. Anyway, on a happier note, welcome. Our numbers I want to thank everybody over on the RSS feed, over at Apple and all those places, because we are really gaining momentum. This month, the last 2 months, I've seen a huge momentum gain. And it looks like it's not going to, well, knock on wood that I don't screw it up saying something, but it looks like those numbers are continuing to gain. And I'm really excited about that. Really excited. What does that mean? I could start start trying to get some advertisers to help pay the bills. I mean, that's what every podcaster wants. Well, not everyone, but it depends what you do. Because when I first started, I didn't care about that stuff, but now I do. But, that's what a lot of podcasters want, is to be able to pay their bills. And so far, it's been working. But like I said, I bought that hard drive on Monday because I could not use this computer at all. And then I had to put the new backup hard drive on there. So now I'm running short for paying my bills. What else is new? So if anybody out there could help me out, I'd appreciate it. Okay? It's not required. All right. I'm excited about tonight's show. I am really good with EVPs. In fact, I've been doing it. Like I said, I hate to keep saying it. Well, Nancy's been doing this stuff for a long time. I've been doing this for 18 years as an investigator. And I started out with a TV show called California Haunts that I came up with, and we were videotaping another group here in Sacramento. And it was then that I learned how to use the Adobe software to go through the EVPs, because they would not only end up on the digital voice recorders, but also on my video cameras. So I had to upload the cameras and be able to get the audio off and then go over it. So I've been doing this for a long time. So yeah, it goes way back. And so it's really, you get these things in unique ways, and you work with them. So it's going to be interesting to talk to Nancy about this, because EVP is a fine art. And I remember I had a particular team member who accused me of faking the EVPs. And well, Nancy, I can talk about that too. Let me bring Nancy in, because I'm going off on this tangent right away. So let's do this. One of those days.
Yeah, I'm biting the bullet here, thinking we got to start here. I did spend some time today writing notes up. It's interesting when the topic was brought up. Oh, that's gonna be fun.
Yeah.
Char has a whole house full of people. I tell you, they come in and go, and there's someone right in front of her.
There's
We also
always someone.
remember, and I tell you, every show, everybody, these are people, and people have attitudes, or they don't want to be recognized, or
Hmm.
they're bashful, or all the dynamics of making people who they are today the same as all the people who passed over. And
Hmm.
we want to make sure, oops, we got dropped, Shar. Is there, my husband was watching baseball, but I think
I'm right
Skinwalker
here. I
Ranch is
didn't
on
go
tonight,
anywhere. I
right
guess I
now.
got
So
dropped on
it,
your end. I'm
huh?
here. I guess I got dropped on your end. Nothing happened
Oh,
here.
yeah, nothing. I just watching the screen. Anyway, so I want to talk about some things. Shar will interject as we get going. 1840s, 1850s, Upper New York State, spiritualism had its birth. And
Hmm.
whether it was the Fox sisters or not, they were the ones that catalyzed the idea of communication by
Right.
tapping that they heard in their house. In those years, homes were very small, and theirs was just a glorified cabin, bigger than most cabins. And they heard the tappings in the ceiling. When I was studying ministry with the Universal Christ of the Master, that was one of the things that the history of spiritualism, we studied the Fox sisters. And of course, when decades passed, they started getting tired of all the publicity and they downplayed
Hmm.
it. And eventually they said they had made it up. Yet
Hmm.
they were able to get all kinds of answers from the gentleman that was buried on the property. And they found out a lot and it started a wonderful movement of which my grandmother's mother, at the turn of the century, my grandmother was born 1900, Upper New York State. And she, as a young child, in 1905, 6, 7, 8, she used to watch the women get together and table tip in in the
Mm.
front room of my grandmother's house. Uh, and we don't have the title of the jobs that they did on time, but my my Isabel, my grandmother's father, was a furrier. I don't even know what a furrier is. It doesn't make a difference, but the women would all say, "Can we get you out of the house?"
Horseshoes.
So as they did in
Horseshoes.
those years, they used to
Furriers. Put horseshoes on
what?
horses. They put horseshoes on horses.
No, that's another term. These are furs that people wore in those years. It was
Okay, okay,
transportation.
okay.
But
Okay.
anyway, uh, that was a term they used then. They didn't have horses that they, my grandfather did, had nothing to do with animals. They live in the city and the zip code was 10033. I just remember it overlooks the Hudson River. So they had nothing to do with horses. But anyway, to make a long story short, they were musicians on the weekend. And they, my grandmother said they looked forward to the men leaving. There was a quartet, so the four women would get together and they'd watch table tipping. Had nothing to do with EVPs, but I always wondered, was it the women who lifted the tables or were spirit people around? And of course, the family went on to come down to my generation. My grandmother, my father, and myself had the gift, and it's been really exciting, baffling at times. EVPs didn't come into my consciousness probably till the early 19. I started in 1992, but it was some years before I started doing it because we didn't have the electronic equipment like we do now.
Hmm.
In fact, in 92, I think it was, in 93, I had a pager. So when people couldn't get me, they page me. So you can appreciate we didn't have anything like what we have now and how wonderful it was that electronic equipment was developed to even be able
Hmm.
to do this. Um, so there is equipment on Amazon, EVP recorder, ghost hunting equipment, paranormal investigation, 3150 if you're looking at, so just type in EVP recorder, ghost hunting, and you'll see things like this pop up, whether you buy it or you've had something in your pocket all the while. But I used to do sessions and record on cassette. Yeah. And in 2012, I went to an event in, I think it was Phoenix, and somebody there was doing the like recorder. And I used to record all the sessions. I would talk to people during events, and I started doing it at home. That's when we and I had this happen. You'd have the recorder on doing a session. You get home, play it back, and there's all kinds of different noises on there. And the
Hmm.
time it didn't occur to me that I was sorry, just memories. It's like, oh my God, I remember other noises, and it was not necessarily the event. This was voices, and we didn't make anything of it. I didn't even think of it. When I was doing in 2007 and 8, I started Block Talk Radio. And I think that's when it really became popular because people could get recordings at that time. And I think, Shar, did you start with EVPs about that time or was it after
Yes,
that?
yes. It was
Uh
about
huh.
that
Uh
time.
huh.
The other thing you
So,
mentioned, talking to your clients, and I can tell you this: there's been nights after an investigation that I just leave the thing running, and we're just sitting around BSing, and
oh,
there's a
yeah.
ghost that will come in on our conversation.
And kind of
I always
mumble in the
find that so amazing.
background. When you play it back, you go, now, who's that talking? Oh, we don't recognize the voice. Oh, there's a man though. Someone's talking, and then you
Sometimes,
start
and
thinking
then
about conversation, and that's happened to me. I was doing the events, and usually a psychic fairy thing is really noisy. It's not when people are giving readings. We're off to the side, and it's very quiet. And I remember voices, and I remember thinking, no, there was no one there, and it was on the tape though, and I kind of get you kind of goosey.
it does.
Um, I do want to go ahead, Char.
And again, you could be in a regular conversation. They show up. I did this hotel in North Tahoe, small little hotel on a hill, and we had finished the investigation. And around 4 a.m., you get giddy. I mean, I don't care how long you've been up, you get giddy. So we were laughing about stuff, and the history of the hotel
Yeah.
was that it had burned down at one point. So I get home after this investigation, and I'm listening through my EVPs, and I hear right in the middle of our conversation, two male voices come on, and one says,
Yeah.
"I'm burning up," and the other one says, "I don't know why."
Oh, no.
But it's clear as a bell, clear as a bell.
And I want to point out, I remember the mumbling in the
Hmm.
background. And I always, once we figured out what it was, well, why aren't they coming closer? What could be spirit people just being there?
Hmm.
Have to be clear that not all VPs were given the opportunity to hear clearly.
Right.
Most of the time, it's little snippets. Or if they
Hmm.
get angry, you'll hear a verse or you'll hear crying or whatever. And I remember talking to you as a group, I mean, the show here, how I went to this, I was a remote viewing. And what I do, which I can't explain, is I'll be hooked up my phone. And, and I think it was George Lopez of Port Orange Paranormal at the time. He would be walking, but I can see where he's headed. And I would tell him 3 steps, take a right hand turn, there'd be a door there. Now, how is that possible?
Hmm.
And he went into the room, and to his right, up at the corner, there was a mass. And I remember telling the group it looked like tar, but it wasn't. It was like heavy jello, but dark. And that's
Hmm.
the anxiety of someone who's insane that has lost its identity. But there could be voices,
Hmm.
mumblings, anxiety, and you pick those things up. Oh, it's spooky, it's wooky, it's devil, it's all kinds of strange things. It's just an insane person who's lost
Hmm.
the recognition of who they were. It's hard to wake those people up. Only time can help. If the building got broke down, that entity would stay in that corner until
Hmm.
it woke up. Just like the movie The
Hmm.
Ghost with Casey Affleck. And the end of the
Hmm.
movie, he realizes that he's all by himself now. Well, what's going on? I'm going to leave here. So you can you get a very large range of voices, men and women and children. Remember, men and women would and could present themselves as a child. Don't always assume it's children because we hear a lot of children,
Hmm.
but it's not necessarily so. A child represents innocence. And I was sharing with you a time in my youth, 10, 11 years old. I was outdoorsy a lot. I was always on the bicycle. I was at gym bars and little cars that I played with in the dirt between houses. And so if I pass away, maybe I would go back and play there.
Hmm.
But I would be a child. Yet clearly I'm an older woman now. But you pick a time in your life and you're happy. So as we get older, maybe you're happy at 20, but you sound like a child to me. So
Hmm.
we're all different ages, anxiety, frustration. What if you're a spirit person and you're just on the brink of going, not insane, but you can't get anybody's attention? And so we've
Hmm.
been doing EVPs for 20 years, and all of a sudden it's something the spirits. I've been telling people for 100 years I'm here. What's going on? They get impatient, and you could get snippets. You can get all kinds of. I told you I'm here, and then you all pick up as, I told you. And you don't hear it all. And
Right.
though, and Shar showed you a little EVP machine, I have a couple around here also. Depending on how good your equipment is, how good is the walls? Are they lined with a lot of electrical?
Mm-hmm.
Is there plumbing in the ground? Is there all kinds of things that would disturb a good recording? And the spirit person's there standing in front of you with his hands on the hip going, "Ah." It's crazy. And then Shar has some equipment, and other people have equipment I see on TV where it shows a stick man. Didn't we
Mm-hmm.
do one with where you had me remote?
No,
I
we haven't
got
done
so
that yet.
excited. Oh, I did it with somebody. There's a spirit like, to your right, take 2 steps, And yet that person in the spirit form could not want to communicate. He just wants to be acknowledged. Oh, we have a spirit person here. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
introvert, extrovert. When you become a spirit person, you become that also. I'm clearly,
Mm-hmm.
I like people, so I would peak. I'd be the one speaking. I'd be so excited. But yet, as a spirit person, I have no desire to hang around an old, ugly building waiting for someone to pick up an EVP from me. Those are needy people, and they go. You have to go. I wrote down questions. I wrote down the problem with the insane asylum. Yes, you can go to places where there were children and get voices, but are they careful? I don't want to imply because only God knows the universe knows everything. There's such a thing as residual energy, and you could pick
Mm-hmm.
up children playing. But say you're near a playground where children did play, and the teacher says, "All right, let's come in." Every child starts screaming, "Let's go in! It's totally fun!" And they're screaming going into the building. Guess what? You're going to pick up in 50 years. Kids screaming and playing. So it depends on how much residual energy of an incident can stay in one spot. You think it's a ghost in a loop, could be just noise.
Mm-hmm.
And some of these places that you've had, I keep bringing up, I don't know if someone was thinking that, or I'm going to. There was a terrible disaster in Fukushima in 2013, I think it was. And you imagine the area there that got damaged and all the kids that were playing. You go there and it's really spooky, and a lot of buildings are still there, but not are not. Or you go there and there's noise, but it's not necessarily the dead people. Their spirits have gone on. It's the residual of the noise. How about the screaming and yelling of people crazily? And I just can't even think about the trauma and drama of that. That residual energy could also still be there, which you would feel if you went into some of those homes. Can you imagine seeing a tsunami coming towards you and you don't have time to get out? You'd be killed, but yet it doesn't mean you stay in the house. See,
Mm-hmm.
so emotional stability of the spirit is also very important. And I'm not going to say that culture has a better spiritual basis than we do, but a lot of them do. A lot of them are better than we are. How many of us have a foundation of faith? Not very many anymore, maybe 100 years ago. But I sometimes worry about that. Just because I
Mm-hmm.
do it doesn't mean I always have.
Mm-hmm.
I've been kind of studying people for 33 years in the afterlife. Universal Christ of the Master, got my ministry in Church of the Living God, Sedona, Arizona. It's kind of like, don't have to believe it, it's just the proof after so long. Do you get EVPs in cemeteries? Yes, you do. Yes, you do. And I have seen it, I've heard it. And I already
Mm-hmm.
mentioned the Ghost Brothers. I think there's a young man, one of the three. He's very Chinese, married. He's young looking to me. 35 probably, or 40. I hope he's that age group. And he's so polite, and I love that. How many people have witnessed people on TV? And I'm not disrespecting anybody on TV. They're put on a lot of pressure to be entertaining. Please don't come after me, okay? But this young man goes into the cemetery, and he's very polite. And he asks for forgiveness as he's disrupting their peace. But very
Mm-hmm.
few cemeteries have spirits there, and they don't just hang around. Yes, I did see spirits hang around. If you have a very condensed cemetery, like a Sacramento City Cemetery, 10th and Broadway in Sacramento, where I gave tours for 6 years, man, there was a plot every few inches, 10,000 just on a couple
Mm-hmm.
acres. I mean, it was bizarre. And you're going to have a lot of energy because of that. You're going to, in those years when death was so common in the 1800s, early 1900s, unfortunately, a lot of people die, especially the children then. Mothers and fathers would come and be terribly sad. That people died of the smallest infection. Childbirth killed a lot of women. So you have a lot of grief, and that can be in a cemetery. Yes, I saw spirits that have clumpered on top of the um, I made up a word, everybody. They clambered on top of the stone area where the child was buried or something. You're going to get, I saw a lot of that. Also saw people who showed up knowing we were going to show up. Oh, they're going to talk about us. And I had this senator show up. And in the center, Shar maybe knows, remember this, we go in the center and there was a mound in the area right in front. I put my hand on. I'm always moving my hands. And I'm not Italian, believe me. I'm not. But anyway, so there was a mound where some of the dignitaries of the Senate, because it was the capital of California, Sacramento, and there was this taller gentleman, and he was standing next to a stone and said, "My wife's buried here." And John Betancourt, the curator of the cemetery tour, says, "Oh, Nancy, you're wrong." You're wrong. You're wrong. I go, "Okay. You want to go look?" And he goes, "Okay." Went up there, and sure enough, there was the wife's buried right there. Can make it up if I'm right. So I never traveled, and I never would look it up. And the gentleman that had his wife there, he was a tall, thin man. And I tell people, I see him, I don't see him, I don't see him. But that's different than getting a voice. I can hear it in my head. I talked about it. When I hear it in my head, people say, "Well, how do you hear it?" I said, "Sometimes you yell at me." Like, "I'm here, come over here." I go, "Where? Who's talking to me?" And I'm going, "Well, they're sure impatient, but they must know I can hear them because I pay attention." And no, I never want to see them all the time. Please. I turn the switch off. I can feel people in here. And every time I've done a show with Shar, I feel like, who is here? And I'm not going to turn the switch on because I can't deal with them. It's not the place in the time. Excuse me. I hope it's not my mother. I'm saying that too. But at the same time, I'm a living person. They've had their chance here. They can be with the room with me. They can listen to these shows. I love it. And so when I hear them, it's very difficult because I had to adjust my energy to be able to hear them. And I'm not looking at people. So if I want to do EVPs, I want to see who I'm talking to, I have to offshift my energy to be able to hear it. I speed up. It feels like a motor is running faster because they need me to match their speed. They can't necessarily match my speed. And on EVPs, you have to slow it down to hear it. They have to slow down. So there's kind of a bridge that has to be crossed. And sometimes I wonder if maybe the EVPs that don't get picked up, but you hear this something in the background, it's them talking too fast, like Char does sometimes. Char, I'm going to kick you in the leg sometimes. Slow down, woman. And so if you talk too fast, it's hard to hear. And so we have to remember that. When you do an EVP, and Char, interject anytime, I'd like to go on. When you get together with your equipment, I don't mean to exclude Char, but I'll keep talking. Oh, it is fun. It is fun. Think about going somewhere where you know the possibility of you hearing a spirit person for the first time because someone else went there, and you're going to get some sort of invisible proof that you don't just go to oblivion. Think about that. And it took me a long time to put those thoughts together where I was absolutely knowing I wasn't insane. Like, what am I picking up your dead father and mother and child? The visuals I would see, and I could talk all night with some of the stories, really different. Just very early, 90, 91, I told the story, and I promised to learn more stories. I have cassette tapes and hard drives of all the readings. I did lose 2012. I told Shar, the one person that asked for an old tape, it was September, I think, September 2012. Couldn't find it, went through everything. And that's when my tech guy said, "Well, that's when you bought the new one. What happened to the old computer?" What happened to all my tapes? I couldn't believe it. But the excitement of going and trying. I want to encourage you to try. I always also say, now Char's going to risk doing this. I see all kinds of people around her all the time, and I think it's okay. Now there was a Roman guy, and he said someone took the coins that were put in my eyes. And she found the coins, and it's better now. But think about going somewhere. Don't invite them into your life. You're going just to communicate. And you're going to go and you're going to see if you can get a voice. from some invisible place, and hopefully not name. They're curious as you are and why you're there. And be calm, like my voice right now. Be calm, even though you're excited inside, because you're going to talk to another person. Just like if someone walked into your house right now and sat down and you look at this person, you go, and you're here, why? And you just walked in? Really? Well, why don't you be as polite as you can because you're walking in their house or their location or where they think they belong. You be polite and you be courteous and you be forgiving if you come in. I'm so sorry, did I come in too excited? I hope I didn't disturb everybody in here, but I would like to talk. Can I set up my equipment? Well, I'm using this little piece of equipment, and when it's set up, I would like you to talk to me and see if I can help you. Remember, too many words, as few words as possible. Can I talk to you? This is a recorder. Can you get close and let me hear your voice? If you have to explain more or different equipment, see those dots on the floor? If you walk in front of them, I'll know that you're still alive. And I'll know that you are here. Even if you don't talk to me, I would like to meet you. And it's possible they don't know they're dead.
Right.
And so you want to be careful how you talk to them, because they may think they're still in life form and that you walked into their place. Can you imagine some of these situations of people barge in? Now, as with the cemetery, I remember thinking that we'd start out with so many that I would see, because I would allow the switch to be on. And by the end of the evening, the tour, which would go an hour and a half, 2 hours, I think, maybe more, there'd be 2 or 3 times more spirit people watching. And I used to tell people, we're here so I can introduce you to spirit people. But in reality, I'm here watching them watch us back. And that was always fun. That was always fun. Like the numbers grew because the accumulation of a bunch of people with breath, with life force, we get together and they would want to see what we're talking about. And of course, I'd be all excited. And after a while, I would say, very soon after we started, 6 years, had 3, 4 years, I would ask the spirit people stand still. And they go, oh my gosh, do you want me to stand still? Oh, goody. Because I would acknowledge them as a person. And they get lonely. And I wonder, well, why to myself? Well, then what are they here for? Why don't you go on to the Great Divide or go on to other planets? And I think, well, maybe I should be more considerate. Maybe what I am seeing, especially the ladies walking with their men. I remember the women of old attire, and this one couple, they always pop into my head. She had really pretty clothes on, maybe a root beer colored dress, and it was really tight fitting, just gorgeous. And I remember thinking, this one of the tours, she's in her heaven, and the spirit dogs would come with the people too, with their pets, and they would be together. Who am I as a lowly human being to judge anybody? Anybody. So I used to think, what are they doing around here? Why don't they just... I had one spirit family lady call, and the brother became this undead person around 7 years ago. And he's been in time visiting his past lives. And his interest, Johnny Depp, Pirates of the Caribbean. He's on pirate ships. And he's living his heaven in the past. And we seem to do that a lot, which is amazing to me. I'm getting off track. I want to get back on. Remember, they can, with a thought, be in one place and another. I have clients all around the world. And I talk to them. The ones overseas seem to like the video. Rarely I get letters from China and elsewhere. And that's fun. But when they ask me a question, instantly I can bridge to whomever they want me to talk about. There's no space and time. How is it even possible I could go to Italy, Malta, England, Australia too. I got people in Australia, and most of you people know her. I mean, she's very involved. She got a ministry from me too, and it's instantaneous. You don't think spirit people are better than a lowly human being? These
Mhm.
are people just like us. So yeah, I'm always careful to. Um, okay, you're a dead man. Well, you don't want to do that. How long have you
Mhm.
been here? Ask simple, straightforward. I'm here to talk to you. Is that okay? And you got the tape going after you explain what it is. Oh, this, I've turned it on. I would like to hear you respond to me. Just very easy. With your quim is this is I've just mentioned. They may not know they're dead, and
Mhm.
that I don't know. I must have come across the people I've talked to when they clients talk to me. Everybody knows their spirit, but when you're in a sane asylum or hospitals where you died of tuberculosis, there's a lot of them that don't know, I'm sure. But I have not had to deal with that. But I'm very concerned that we don't address that.
Mhm.
In the cemetery, everybody talks already know they're dead. They know what a cemetery is. The other
Mhm.
day, again, my husband and I were out driving around and we drove by the Asian cemetery. And there was a man there with his burial gown on. And I was kind of like, the robes like somebody who had a lot of money. And I thought to myself, wow, he sure looks good. I wonder why he's there in all his pretty clothing. It's like I just looked really quick because I don't want them to know I can see him because I'm not ready to deal with it. I don't want him in the car. It's like, oh,
Mhm.
it's like in the movies. That is a real phenomena. I feel obligated and sad that they think they need to be there. And with that, if I were to go, and I probably will sooner than later, they don't have any concept of time. So right now I've been busy with health issues and dental and all kinds of stuff. So I'm not in that space right now. Sometimes they are afraid, and they will express that in the EVP. And they could say anything, and you'll go, "What is wrong? What? Wow, well, who's crying? Who's screaming at me?" And then you have to say, "Are you afraid of me?"
Mhm.
No, no. Can you tell me what you're afraid of? I'm not here to hurt you. I'm a very easy person to be here with you. I just want you to know I'm here to help you. And they
Mhm.
may say, why are you helping me? You don't belong here. Look how ugly this building is. It's been standing and broken down for a year, 100 years. So with that, remember less words versus big words.
Mhm.
I've taught many classes on automatic writing. And when you want to start communication, just within a week, I was talking to somebody about that. Sit with a lot of paper in front of you. Left hand at the corner, right hand, of
Mhm.
course, if you're right handed. Your whole arm moves from the shoulder, not the elbow, not the wrist, not the fingers. Because then you've allowed some sort of physical channeling, and then move your whole arm, it's easier. And you just start moving circles. But to get their attention, you need a photograph of them or you need their name. You look at it and you focus on them as a living person. Remember, they're still living. They're a living person without the meat jacket. I heard that from
Exactly.
somebody. I went, oh my gosh, that's terrible, but it is true. And they will feel that and come. You have to make sure you ask. I haven't needed to do it with my mother. Well, I haven't done it with her. I have tried with my dad, and I have not been able to feel him for a long time. I kind
Mhm.
of wonder if he's not back. You could also be very polite and say, as you enter a building or complex of some sort, I'm here to talk to whoever'd like to talk to me back. And
Mhm.
open up that channel. You could be asking for their name first. If you do history on a location, make sure you find anybody who's died a first name. A lot of times, not necessarily. You could be somebody who was hired to work at the building. Tombstone, Arizona. There's a lady of the night working there. Hmm. I don't know if she died there. She could have died in bed from a fever, tuberculosis and the flu and all kinds of things kill people very readily. Just it's unfortunate. A lot of ladies in those years were not in a place they could afford children, so they would take something called lanium Char, do you remember what that name was? And if you just took a little too much, you just sleep, you never wake up. So they would go back to the job. And I suspect it was a very social environment, someplace a lot of fun.
Mhm.
You never know. If you're talking to somebody, maybe you want to know, even if you hear a child's voice, can you tell me how old you are? You may be surprised. You hear a young person and they don't know for sure how old they are, but they might give a guess because I don't believe it's all children. The children I've seen that pass over, boy, they just get snatched up by family really quick
Mhm.
because spirit people don't want a child to be left alone.
Mhm.
If you have a conversation and you have a strong sense they are there, and I've done this, Jesus, and because I'm that way, I can feel them. I go, and you're here? Why? Why are you still here?
Mhm.
And how long do you think you've been here? I've done that. And never have I said how many are here, but I've heard a lot of shows and people say, I'm sitting here with my friend, we're doing EVPs. How many people are here in the room? There could be one person trying to impress you by saying 10. Not always
Mhm.
do you get the truth. They're more spirit people are tricksters than not. They like a good chuckle. They like to get you stirred up. So you want to keep them as though the person is sitting live across from you.
Right.
You want to assume there's one,
Right.
okay? Because they'll bounce around the room trying to impress you by what they can do. Um, and I also go ahead, Char.
Well, that's some. Okay. No, go ahead. Finish your thought, and then I'll go off on
You
my
want me
little
to?
did. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Finish your thought.
Um, so on the TV, you were seeing a lot of people moving things around. Absolute spirit people do that. And I referenced Ghost when the main character, Patrick Swayze, has been killed. He went to the subway and he met this tall, lanky guy that taught him how to kick the can. I'm not sure if it's as hard as they made it, but I do feel like they can be a poltergeist energy of explosive energy trying to get your attention. Doors
Mhm.
open and close. Absolutely. Absolutely. And that bang could be a pipe hitting the wall. It could be all kinds of reasons. Could it
Mhm.
be the spirit trying to get your attention? Why not? Who says no? I'm not, I am the last person. I just give you what I know as someone who's been in the business. And you take the information and you make it work for you. Absolutely. And the Fox sisters, that's how they got this started. They were hearing banging. They knew nobody else in the family was making that noise. And
Mhm.
they would ask a question, yes or no, one tap, no, yes, and two taps, no. And after a while, they got really good at it. So the spirit person was able to manipulate sound or energy to make it happen. How do they do it? I don't have that answer. Not always. Can they? Can we figure things like that out? Um, you could always ask things of the history of the place. Do you know where you are? Do you know what this building was? If it's not a residential, see what they do know. Because in my experience, buildings change not only ownership but purpose.
Mhm.
And in Placerville, we did an EVP, and there was a bakery there, but yet it was a
Mhm.
butcher shop at one time.
Yep.
And
Yep.
I was talking to Shar, and she didn't know. And also, I saw a bunch of cattle and pigs running through the place. And Shar
Mhm.
went,
Mhm.
"Wait a minute!" And then she found out. I don't know how soon after we did this. I go, "There's cows and pigs in here." And then she found out it was actually a butcher shop originally. So, if a spirit person can tell you what they remember, what it looked like, will give you a better idea the length of time. So doing history is very, very important. When I do
Mhm.
cemetery tours or do any kind of investigation, particularly cemetery tours of buildings, I did downtown Sacramento, the first layer. It was by a gentleman, I don't even know he's in business. I don't remember, Shar, if you remember him, but he took me down there and I said, do me a favor and bring somebody who's a historian because I'm going to see people. I want to know what I'm looking at. And so we went down to what was an old restaurant at one time. And I saw this really fine looking gentleman. I think I might have brought this up, seems familiar. Off to the side, a three-piece suit. It was very pricey. I described it, and the gentleman to the left of the investigator goes, "Oh, you just described the mayor of who was of that era." And he
Mhm.
had plaid on, it was red and beautiful. I go, "Well, he's standing right there." And I remember this gentleman going, she just pointed to this guy like he's right there. I says, yeah. And then when I looked, this restaurant was long and narrow with little booths on one side. I looked and all of a sudden I saw horses pulling up in front. And I realized that above us was old Sacramento, like we
Mm-hmm.
have downtown Sacramento. And it used to be another layer down. They said, well, the carriages used to bring the patrons right up to the door. Well, I didn't know that. So the guy, the investigators left. This guy says, you're right. Horses used to drive the patrons right up to this door and they'd come in. The mayor was there. And it was terrific. And I did see a pet, an animal, a cat or dog, small. So sometimes people will stay like the mayor because he looked really fine. He was dressed really nice. And I didn't
Mm-hmm.
see from the knees down, like people forget their feet, but he had the most beautiful three-piece suit on. It was colorful, plaid, red, a tie, and he was a thicker, so cats everywhere. He was a bulky man in the middle. So he might have been in his 50s, 50s, 60s of that time frame. If you know if a building had damage to it, fire, flooding, and there are people there, ask them what the building was, why they're there, but you don't want to tell them that it was a fire or flood or blowing up or something until
Mm-hmm.
you know what era they were in. You don't want to
Mm-hmm.
give them more trauma because they'll spend a decade or two thinking, was I in that fire? And then next time you're going to get mixed answers. Don't
Right.
presume the spirit person knows what you're talking about. You could ask for a first name, um, and you don't want to presume. I brought up the Civil War last time, Gettysburg. You see those people in the loop. You don't know if anybody's in the loop in the building before the fire that burnt the building down. So you want to do that. And they may not always remember the last name, but they will remember what their wife, partner, mother called them. And
Mm-hmm.
you could say, what did your wife call you? What did your husband call you? Are you old enough? Do you remember what your mother called you? Get a first name. That really does help. Um, you want to make sure that when you go in there, you don't go with the intent of getting physical um, responses. You don't want to go in there and get mad at them because I have an expression I've told Sharon, everybody. Of course we're human. And I've said things in the quirk and I hang up. I go, oh God, Nancy, would you learn how to speak English? Not never hurt, never harm another soul because you will not forget that forever. That will always haunt you. I said something stupid once and I think I've apologized 10, 15 times to that individual. It was just a slip of the tongue. And I'm really sorry. And I call it Catholic guilt, even though I'm a spiritualist now. So in researching a building, don't assume it's a bad person. Assume
Mm-hmm.
everybody's innocent. Did you cause that harm? Did you kill somebody? Because they may not remember, but then own it. So we don't want to harm him, Daddy. And if you know he's a victim, you have to apologize. Apologize for someone taking their life. I'm so sorry this happened to you. How long do you think you've been here wanting that person to come back? You don't assume, well, what did you do wrong that they get killed?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, never harm another soul. Remember, these were people, and they are still people, but without the garment of the flesh. So
Mm-hmm.
we don't want to harm them because they could go insane. If they go insane, which I have watched happen, they will end up looking like a ghoul, and then you'll come in and think you need an exorcism, and you'll
Mm-hmm.
mistreat them. These are ill souls. You don't want to harm them. Um, and so
Okay.
the last statement I have on here is do not provoke.
Yes. Do not
And
provoke.
that's the last of my notes.
Okay. Well, as I get started rolling here, boy, it's hot in here. I'll tell you. No matter how I turn the furnace off, boom. EVPs. It depends. If you're recreational ghost hunter, maybe you're taking a tour of someplace and you've got a recorder with you and you want to do a session. That's fine. It's really cool. You'd be surprised what can happen. Like I mentioned that thing in Tahoe. You could be surprised what can come up during a conversation that you're having with someone else. I remember doing the Ione Hotel, and we were in one of the bedrooms up there, and one of our team members, I believe it was Ione, one of them, and one of our team members was dressed in period clothing. And
Oh,
we were
oh,
sitting, and
period
we were
clothing.
sitting on the bed. And the weird thing is you could hear springs, and we weren't bouncing around on the bed, but you could hear the springs from the bed. Another one, the same investigation, we were further down the hall over there, and we were just, my friend had bought one of those beds, like a Niagara bed, because they move up and down for
Oh,
relax.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
apparently the ghost thought that was the greatest thing to get into conversation with, because he mentions the bed he was sleeping on. He says,
So he's
my
able
bed
to
doesn't do
follow.
that. Yeah. But they interject in the middle of your conversation, which is cool. You don't realize they're
They're
doing it.
just people having conversation, just
They're
like I
just
did with you
people.
just now.
So they're getting involved with that. But EVP, if you're going to do it like with the paranormal team, for instance, you're not always going to get, unless you have big bucks and you can pay for the wing of the hotel or pay for the hotel to be shut down. You're not always going to get that. A lot of the time when we go out to get these things, there's a party going on downstairs. There's always a saloon. The music's loud. You can hear the beer clinking. And all this is going on. So you have to work around that. Even if you're there till 11. I mean, like you figure, well, 11 o'clock, everybody will start going home. Everybody's had their drinks. They're just going to party. So you have to learn to compensate for that. I know I knew some
Hmm.
paranormal investigators that would go out to these locations and get angry and get frustrated because
Mm.
they felt that it was poisoning their abilities to investigate, especially with EVPs. Now, like I said, I've been doing this a long time, and it took me a while to adapt to that. And I admit I was one of the frustrated ones at first, but then I got to the point where I could tell, what was coming from the bar, who was slamming down the hallways. You could tell that after a while if
Hmm.
you listen to
Hmm.
these things enough. So what I did is I use Adobe Audition to go over all my EVP work. So what I did was I started a data bank.
Huh.
So as these sounds came up, I would put them in the data bank. Because I can tell you something from experience. If somebody might have a TV on in another room of a house way down the hallway that you don't
Hmm.
know about,
Hmm.
these recorders will pick it up. It doesn't matter how low they have the TV, you will hear the voices. So, when the TV is on, whether it's video or whatever, there's a certain cadence because it's coming out over Bluetooth or the wire or whatever. So you learn the cadence, and that's one of the sounds that I have put into a audio file because when we go out and do EVPs as a team, I'm able to refer to this file to compare the sounds. I can look at the sound waves and see where the spike. Just like the police, right? When they're looking at people's voices, analyzing people's voices. I can do the same thing with this EVP work, and I can analyze. Oh, here's this TV sound. Oh, look, it's spiking in the same places. It's got to be a TV.
Yeah.
Or another
Hmm.
good one you got to watch out for is uh, clothes washer because
I can
to the
appreciate
untrained,
that. I had my laundry going earlier.
and to the untrained ear, sometimes those machines will squeak and they've got that rubber piece going up the middle, to agitate, and
Yeah.
it'll sound like a human voice.
Oh, how
So you
interesting.
have to be aware of all that stuff. Did they have the washing machine on that night? Because that could easily be mistaken for an EVP. And I'm real meticulous about going through the house, before the investigation and seeing what's on and what's off, and having note of it, so that I know, when I go in to process these things.
Hmm. Hmm.
But that'll throw you off. And the other thing, how thin are the walls in the house? We look at that because they could be hearing. If the person claims to hear voices, they could be hearing something from outside if the walls are thin. Or, for instance, we've done houses that have smaller yards and there's like a walking trail behind the house, where you're going to pick up stuff from. I even had one client that had for some reason, she had her mail drop in her bedroom. The mail drop thing, the hole. So she would hear voices, and the problem was when that thing was open, or even if it's not open, because there's no insulation around the metal part of the drop.
And the middle will
So,
be a conductor of noise.
yeah, so the
Betcha.
sounds are coming in. So she would go take her nap, and then half awake, which is when you start experiencing stuff. She would hear voices in her bedroom, and it turned out it was a mail drop. Where they were coming from. So it's stuff like that to watch. Just like again with the EVPs, when you're in that particular bedroom doing EVP work, You have to make a note. On the tape itself, say, hey, there's a mail drop off to my left, or there's someone watching TV down the hall, or people are whispering in the other room. So you have to make note of that. The other thing I do, and I keep a database, that was the word I was looking for, was database, of my investigators' voices. So what I will do is, before what we do, and Jerry's in my chat room, right? I can see you.
Oh,
What
yeah.
Jerry will do, and whoever else is doing the EVP work, what I do and have them do is they will go around in their normal voice and say their name all the way around. Following that, I have them whisper their voice. And that's because you'd be surprised how many whispers. A lot of these EVPs sound like whispers, but you would be surprised. As much as you try during an investigation, and just like me sitting here and I'm fidgeting around. If you're going to do a 5-minute EVP session or a 10-minute EVP session, no one's going to sit still that long, so they're going to be fidgeting around and stuff. So you have to make note of the of the whispers. You have to make note of the normal voice, and you have to make note if you're sitting there and you start to fidget, that's going to get picked up by the recorder too. Okay, then when I get the recorders back, if I don't have a camera in that particular room when you're doing your session, I'm going to think it's somebody other than the team members moving around. So as you're sitting there doing these EVPs, you have to say, "Hey, I just moved my leg. I scratched my elbow." You have to say that so that I can weed it out. It's all crucial.
Also, in some older homes, I can't remember if it was you or somebody else. If you have a 2-story, if someone flushes the toilet upstairs, you're going to get all kinds of noise in the walls.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, and walls that don't have insulation, floors that are creaky and pliable, you're going to have movement of piping in the walls.
Yes.
And people have said, "Oh my God, there's so much noise in the house." I go, well,
yes.
there you are. By the way, do you
That's
have your little recorder on? Turn it on.
I'm going to turn it on now. So
Please turn it on. I think just hold it because we're pretty quiet. Cats aren't meowing.
Okay. So if anybody's in here with me, and I know you are here, you're always looking over my shoulder, feel free to say something. I'm not going to leave it on forever because I want to do short takes on this for tonight. So feel free to say something, loud as you can, into my machine here. The mic's on this end. Or just add something during the conversation as we talk about this. So you're going to want to ask questions like the questions that Nancy had mentioned. And there's also a thing it's kind of like being a newspaper reporter where you don't want to say close-ended questions. Anything that's a yes or a no, you want to get kind of an explanation off of them. But you're going to want to do that. And normal EVP sessions don't go more maybe than 3 to 5 minutes. It depends on what you're doing. Now, when we do it, we tend to put this up here real quick. You guys can say what you want now. When we do it, I tend to tape because I have 6 of these recorders. So I will tape one of these on a wall, on some wall in one of the rooms, and then I will put a camera in there to prove that nobody was messing with it. So mine are running constantly. So if we go out for 4 or 5 hours, I've got 4 or 5 hours of stuff to go through. But the problem,
and you'll see those on the shows.
Yeah.
When they've listened to them all night.
Recorder, which is old, it's outdated almost. This recorder, this has an excellent voice command system on it. So as I'm talking to you, which I have the voice command on now, it'll pick me up instantly. There's some recorders that I've used that don't have that. There's a delay.
I'm trying to remember what it's called. EOP.
Yeah, there's a delay going into the recorder. This one on voice command, or what's it called? Not voice command, but voice triggering. I'll say voice triggering. So
yes,
it'll instantly trigger the voice. It'll shut down when it's quiet, unless someone's there's yeah, and then it'll trigger right away. So I love to use these. Anyway, so
I like those also.
Yeah, and then it's just hard to find them that will trigger right away because a lot of them have that delay. But you keep your questions short, keep them simple. But again, you don't want to ask close-ended questions. You want open-ended questions to see, like Nancy says, what year were you born? Was this your house? Or was your house on the property? Or do you think this is your house? Just to keep that stuff going. In the meantime, If your stomach bubbles, you have gas, you have to mention that. Okay? You have to mention those things. If you, God forbid, lay a good one, as they say, and
Oh, sure.
and and, and desert the
Everybody
room,
will
you have to
know.
let people know. You have to let people know that you just laid a good one, right? But that's all part of it because we have to know, as we're going through these. And again, that works. That works for both the ghost hunter and the person that's just kind of walking through, right? Imagine if you were taping a tour, and it was just for you, so you could like go back later and listen to it. Maybe you were distracted, but oh, thank God I've got the tape. Then you sit down and you go home. You're using it for like background noise, right? Working on your laptop or whatever, and all of a sudden you hear a voice come out there that shouldn't be there. But that's how it happens sometimes.
That's how it
That's how it
happens.
happens. Yeah, that's how it
It's
happens.
in this, in mentioning, we're talking about what to ask.
Hmm.
Remember, I said don't ask too much or say too much. You have to pause to give them
Hmm.
time to answer.
Yes. Yes.
And like you
Yeah.
said, keep it open ended, inviting them to participate with you and
Yes.
be
Yeah. You
curious.
have to
I'm really
pause.
like to know who I'm talking to. Why don't you speak to me and be really kind?
Right.
A lot of times people are just lost.
Yeah.
Just
And
and
always
which is
pause.
also
Always
that is
pause.
also when people are stuck, lost. I call them lost souls, and they're in a unfortunate loop. I've never tried to do an EVP, which I should have, but I've never found them to be lost of words. They always want to tell
Hmm.
me their story, which I think that's kind of odd. Yet you can go to a dilapidated old building that looks like it's been haunted forever and find one spirit in there, and then they
Hmm.
decide they just really don't like you. And they'll say nasty things to get you out of their home. Kind of
Hmm.
strange. You just never know what you're going to get,
No,
you know.
you don't. You don't.
And
And
sometimes you'll get more activity at a place
hmm.
you're not expecting, like a library or a theater house.
Right. Yeah, you'd be surprised.
You'd be
Where you get the.
surprised.
And there's some place you think you're going to
Yeah.
get a bunch, and you go home disappointed because you get home and you
Hmm.
start going over this stuff. Software, I can go over that real quick too. Like I said, I use Adobe Audition. There are some free software that you can use to look into these EVPs. I teach a class on this, and there's all kinds of software out there. I use Adobe because I'm used to it. I've been using Adobe for a long time. But I mean, there's other things that you can download and make sure they're from a safe site because you don't want to blow up your computer either. But there's a lot of things you can download and utilize, to do your EVP work. Usually, a good EVP doesn't require a lot of work. A good EVP is something that like hopefully maybe we have a class A on here from one of my relatives, which would probably freak me out. And
I hope not.
but a good EVP, you don't have to do anything to. But there are EVPs that are so low in the vocal range, where the sound vocal range is, that you do have to work at getting them out, to pull them out. And
Mm.
sometimes you get lucky, sometimes you don't. The majority that you're going to get are pretty much in the mid ranges. That's the majority. But see, that goes back to what I've been talking to a lot of these UFO and UAP guys about. Because I've gotten EVPs that sounded like it was a mechanical voice talking.
Mm.
And that's the ones that make me wonder when they talk about, these entities, alien entities can travel, you know, wherever they want, when they want, time wise and all that, different dimensions. Because it always makes me wonder when I'm doing EVPs if the ones that sound mechanical, or there's even EVPs you get where whoever's talking to you sounds like they're underwater.
That's a really good point. The video that has been shared on the internet, YouTube forever. I'm not sure if it was a YouTube, but it could have been a reel of a woman
Hmm.
talking on the phone to her girlfriend. And in the house is yellow pale walls. I don't know if they're doing FaceTime. The ladies are talking together. And there was an
Hmm.
alien against the wall at the back of the house. Now, if it had been recorded, we didn't hear the voice. There's a
Right.
lot of controversy, and it's been implied on a few of the missing shows that I enjoy watching that the
Hmm.
portals that the UFO individuals go in and out of, people are stepping into by mistake.
Hmm. Hmm.
They just disappear. Or is it the aliens come in? And there's a correlation now, and I can't hold on to this because I see the spirit people, but I haven't seen aliens walk around, is that the aliens, the spirit people, seem to have a communication with the aliens, and they come back and say there's some sort of a bridging of the spirit world and the aliens. And
Right.
I don't know enough, but be open to what you could hear, because we really don't have all the answers. And just because I
Right.
do this doesn't mean I have the answers. I
Right.
just tell you what I get and what I do. Yeah.
Right. I'm turning on my other tablet because I want to see if there's enough memory on here to run and enough juice on here, because I do have an app that I like to use out in the field, and so we can do a little bit with that too before we go off tonight. We're gonna run a little later tonight. I wanna. Okay, I'll leave that. That's fine. And then let me see. Oh, good. We got 100%. Let's do it. Let me grab this app. I haven't used it in a while, so let me get this thing going.
So tell us
Where
what
are
it
you?
is.
I'm trying to find it now so I remember what the hell it is. I got a couple of them on here, so let's see what we got. Unless I'm confused with my phone, but I doubt. Let's see. I haven't used this thing in a while since I got my new tablet. Where are you? You're supposed to be there. Tell me you're there. Tell me you're there without telling me you're there.
Was
I
it
don't see it.
A
Where's it going?
Google Play app? Or
No. This is
oh,
something
okay.
that I paid for a long time ago, and I don't see it. This is
Oh,
not happening. Where is it? In fact, this is this Paula, who used to be on my team. This was her favorite app to use when I had the app. I'm just trying to find it. That's kind of weird. It's not here anymore. There should be two of them on here, but
well, if you had
the two.
updates, it could have knocked it off.
Well,
Outdate,
this thing
gotten
is so
outdated.
old, and I haven't used it for this purpose in a long time. So let me try one more thing here. Okay, so it's there. That's not it. That's not it. Or maybe they discontinued it. That's always a possibility. Because it's an old app. I don't think anybody uses it anymore. No, you're not going to cooperate? There should be two of them on here, though. Let's see. Maybe I'm just skipping over because I'm in a hurry. Let's see. Calendar camera. Chrome, Clean Master, device help, blah, 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 blah. Downloads, screen, group play. It should be it on here. Well, if it isn't, it's sad because it was a really good app, actually. I used to use it all the time. In fact, this app, we were out in this investigation in. Look at it, Jerry. Okay. We were out in this investigation in Folsom in this residential, and it actually picked up some people speaking in a foreign language, German. It picked up. It
Uh,
had German people
so
were
this
responding.
coming Friday, I'll be talking about spirits and ghosts and how we become a ghost or not wanting to become a ghost. And so maybe we could talk Shar into finding these apps, and that's
Oh,
what
here
we'll
we
talk
go.
about first.
Here's one. Here's one. Okay, let's run the Echo Vox. Let's see what happens today, shall we?
Say it again.
It's
Echo,
called the Echo Vox. It's
ECHO.
an older, it's an older app, and let's see what we can get. Then there's another one that I think was on my phone, so it might be on that other phone. I don't think so. Okay, let's do that one. Okay, I'm gonna get this thing going, and let's see if we get anything with it. All right, relatives, if you're gonna talk to me, now would be a good time. So let's do this.
Can you hold it up so we can? Is it possible we could see what you're looking at?
Yeah, I'm trying to get going, and it's not running right now, so let's see what's going on with it. Like I said, this app is outdated. It's probably they don't use it anymore. Oh, the volume is down, that's why. Okay, put the volume up. Come on, where's the switch?
If it's downloaded,
Here we
it
go.
wouldn't matter if they.
Here we go. Are there any members of my family who would like to talk to me? Can you tell me your name?
See, she could be getting the answers. And so Friday we'll have to tell you what we're hearing. I can't listen that fast.
Okay, is there any members of my family that would like to talk to me? If it works, the answer will be really clear. If they're going to cooperate.
Come on, Mom, speak up.
Come on, somebody say something. I know you're here.
It's almost a little fast. Is it always slowing that down?
Hang on.
It'd be fun for you to listen to it during the week. See what you hear. I heard the word spirit.
Here we go. Playback speed. Let's go. Is there anybody in here? Switch channels for a second. So you guys don't want to cooperate, huh? Let's see if I can cut this down. Hang on.
I'm hearing them talking to you, so I think you're going to hear more later on.
I'm slowing it down.
Someone's right. Someone's right in front of your microphone.
So the voice recorder is right over there talking to that microphone. Interesting. Just tell me your name. Anybody, tell me your name. Okay. So, yeah, see if we got anything. We'll check the recorder. Are you there? You guys want to tell me your name? I guess not, huh? Nobody wants to tell me your name. Whoa. Can you do that again? Did you just say my last name?
Oh.
Say my last name again. Please.
Clearly, you have to get used to listening to that.
Yeah. You have to listen really close. The only issue, I'm going to turn this thing off now, guys. The only issue I have with these machines is that I'm using it in a really populated area where there's a lot of radio stations. Even though this thing might have data banks on it, it might still pick up on stuff, that's out there on the TV and radio.
Yeah.
But I thought for a second there, I did pick up a KO word, and I wasn't sure if it was my last name because it went really fast. So let's listen to this recording over here, see if we got anything, and then we're going to call it a day, I think. And what I'll do is I'll take this thing out of this after the show, and I'll process it. And then the next show we have, like Friday we'll go over some of these things if we pick anything up. But for now,
absolutely.
let's go ahead and listen and see if maybe there's a Class A on here somewhere, okay? Because we might get lucky. Give me a second to find the buttons. I haven't used this in a while. Well, I got some new ones, and I haven't, really did anything with this. Okay, there we go. All right. You get old, you forget to push buttons. Okay. So if anybody's in here with me, I know you are here. You're always looking over my shoulder. Feel free to say something. I'm not going to leave it on forever because I
want to do short takes on this for tonight. So feel free to say something, loud if you can, in my machine here, the mic's on this end, or just add something during the conversation as we talk about this. So you're going to want to ask questions like the questions that Nancy had mentioned. And there's also a thing like, it's kind of like being a newspaper reporter where you don't want to say close-ended questions. Anything that's a yes or a no, you want to get kind of an explanation off of them. But you're going to want to do that. And normal EVP sessions don't go more maybe than 3 to 5 minutes. It depends on what you're doing. Now when we do it, we tend to disappear real quick. When we do it, I tend to tape, because I have like 6 of these recorders, so I will tape one of these on some wall in one of the rooms, and then I will put a camera.
I think you're going to have to listen to it on your equipment. There's too much of you talking for us to hear anything in the background, Charlie.
I've got 4 or 5 hours of stuff to go through. But and this particular recorder, which is old, it's outdated almost, this recorder, this has an excellent voice command system on it. So as I'm talking to you, which I have the voice command on now, it'll pick me up instantly. There's some recorders that I've used that don't have that there's a delay. Like you say something, there's a delay going in the recorder. This one on voice command, let's go not voice command, but voice triggering. I'll say voice triggering. So it'll instantly trigger the voice. It'll shut down when it's quiet, unless someone's, and then it'll trigger right away, so I love to use these. Anyway, so, and then it's hard to find them that will trigger right away, because a lot of them have that delay. But, you keep your questions short, keep them simple, but again, you don't want to ask close-ended questions, you want open-ended questions to see, like Nancy says, what year were you born? Was this your house? Or was your house on the property? Or do you think this is your house? Just to keep that stuff going. In the meantime, if your stomach bubbles, you have gas, you have to mention that. Okay? You have to mention those things. If you, God forbid, lay a good one, as they say, and desert the room, you have to let people know. You have to let people know that, you just laid a good one, right? But that's all part of it, because we have to know, as we're going through these. And again, that works, that works for both the Ghost Center and the person that's just kind of walking through, right? Imagine if you were taping a tour, and it was just for you, so you could, go back later and listen to it. Maybe you were distracted, and thank God I got the tip.
All right. Here's what I'm going to do really quick, because I left it running, and that's my fault. I should have cut it off. I'll do one question, and then I'll shut it off, and then I'll do another question. We'll do it that way.
Shut it off. You mean to be quiet?
Mm-hmm.
You want to leave it on. You don't want.
What year is it? Did you live here before? Are you one of my relatives? How many of you are here? Are you here all the time? Okay, let's see if we got anything.
I think that's good. What is that, 1953?
The house was built.
What?
I think
the house was built in 1953?
Or that's when they bought the house.
1953?
Yeah. I think the house was built in
I just heard in my head, someone told me 1953. So that's when the house was built? Wow.
I think so, yeah.
So who would know that in the family? Your mother, father?
Let me see. Let me do a subtraction here. Because I calculated the house. Okay. So it's 1953. Let me see. Let's do a year built. Let's do a verification real quick. Let me look the house up. See what year it was built.
Well, 70 years ago. 53 is
74
24.
years ago is what I get. So
74.
Okay.
No, 70. 53. That's 47 plus this 20. it's 73 because we just now entered 24. 70 years.
Let's see. See if I'm right. See what Redfin says. Okay, Zillow. Let's see what
Yeah,
Zillow says.
73. Huh?
Let me see what Zillow says.
When was your
Wow,
sister
that's high
born?
red. My sister's 11 years older than I am, so 65. Oh, wow. I didn't think about that.
What?
53. Because I was born in 65, she's 11 years older than I am.
So she was born in
54.
53?
53, 54, yeah.
So was your parents living in the house in 53?
I don't think so. I don't know. I'm not sure. I don't know when they moved here.
So
They
look
might
into
have
that.
been.
Hmm.
Yeah, because that's different. I'm not seeing a house. Sometimes they tell you what year the house was built over here on Zillow when it's
Hmm.
not.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move on. Okay, I'm going to turn the recorder off.
She'll
So
look into that.
yeah,
Because like I
it's
said,
going to sound like Nancy says, it's going to sound like I'm talking all the time on here, but I'm not. The reality is that because I have it set on voice command, if it doesn't pick anything up after I say something, it moves on to the next one. Okay, it'll stay. It only triggers when there is a voice that speaks.
But with the recorder, because you can listen to electronic tapes like that, and we won't hear it with our ears, but with the recorder
Well,
hear it.
sometimes it has to be gone through, yeah. But with this one, it's pretty good at picking up Class A EVPs, which is the best you can get. So we'll see. Let's see if
Well,
anybody answers.
may not be necessarily the best you can get
Yeah. So we'll see.
because their tones is
Can you
different.
tell me your name, please? What year is it?
I think it's going to be hard. You're going to have to amplify what they
Did
say.
you live here before? Are you one of my relatives? How many of you are here? Are you here all the time? Okay, let's think about anything.
Let me go back on that one because there was something. I'm going back to play it.
Can you tell me your name, please? What year is it? Did you live here before? Are you one of my relatives?
That might be something right there, but it's a whisper.
Hmm.
Did you guys hear it?
Right, and that's what I'm worried
Yeah.
about. We're not
Yeah. We'll
having the
probably have to
best.
go back over it. Yeah. But
Mhm.
that's how it works. And then I'm going to have to put it through the other laptop that I have. But that's generally how it works. Sometimes you get lucky, though. But sometimes, like I said, sometimes you'll hear a voice right off. And it's loud as could be. Like the guy that screamed at us at that residential that we did. You know, where he'll say, "Get out." And you can literally hear him yell, "Get out" at us.
Wow,
Or they'll say hello, you know, or
those
whatever.
are
But that's
rare.
why we work. You know, that's why we're working not only with this. We're working with dowsing rods. We're working with sensitives like Nancy because we can. That's how we correlate everything. Because maybe this 1953 thing came up, but maybe it's a particular person talking, telling us their birthday, or telling us when they passed. Because I mean, other people lived in this house too, so there was another family before we moved in, so it could have been anything. But see, if we can get that correlation from the digital voice recorder and the correlation with Nancy and the correlation with the dowsing rods, then we've got something, on that. So yeah, I'll go and do a replay. And maybe Friday I'll have it done. We can go over everything, if I'm able to pick something up, going through the recorder, going through the laptop. But I want to do this again, and I want to have a more controlled night. I wasn't sure how this was going to go tonight, so this was kind of like a test run for this. So I want to really do one. Nancy
Yep.
and I always had this pipe dream, even way back when we first knew each other, about actually trying to have a manifestation happen on camera during a show.
Oh, you sure that
So
was me, huh?
yeah, that was you. So that was something that we wanted to do. Oh, Jerry's got something going here. Hang on. Jerry's helping us out here. What we got, Jerry? Hello, KJ Hearts. Kayla. Thank you. Kayla watching with my message. Okay. So Jerry says, oh, I thought it was Jerry. Oh, maybe I blew it. Hang on. Oh, there it goes. I remember Spirit calling a psychic on the team a liar, plain as day. Freaked her out. Yeah, I remember that too.
Really? Wow. Where
Yeah.
were you? Do you
Yeah, I
remember?
remember that day. Huh?
What investigation were you guys doing?
What investigation, Jerry? What investigation was it? There have been so many. But
Well, the
yeah,
problem with Spirit calling someone not agreeing with the information could be a different era. She might have picked up because it's something to do Arbuckle. Is Arbuckle really old area?
No, Arbuckle was okay. Thank you, Jerry. Arbuckle was a humdinger.
Thank you, Jerry.
Arbuckle was a humdinger.
Was it?
Mean, a humdinger. That was the one where we went in, and I have the EVP somewhere, where we got a warning from the from an angel. Gave us a warning.
Oh, really?
That one.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
He was an angry spirit, Jerry says.
Yeah.
And there was an angel there?
Yeah, we walked in the master bedroom to start an EVP session, and the first thing I picked up that was a Class A that said, Gabriel, watch out. So an angel was telling the angel Gabriel to be careful. Yeah.
Wow.
And I mean, you could clearly hear the EVP.
I have nothing I can add to that.
That one we smelled. I mean, we were in the house. That's why I'm gonna have a show now where I'm gonna start telling stories and stuff like that you guys might like. Maybe do Saturday nights and tell ghost stories about the Gold Country and different investigations. Because on that one, not only that, we had people like Trish would go into the garage and smell vomit. I mean, that was a wild investigation. Absolutely wild. There were all kinds of stuff happening. Equipment. People were holding certain pieces of equipment, and they go to the bathroom and lay something down, and then like a notepad, and then the notepad would end up flying across the room and hitting the wall. That place was crazy. Crazy. I had one
angry
psychic
spirit for sure,
who was a trainee psychic, and this thing appeared to her as it looked like a penguin to her. I even talked to Karen Rothstein about this thing. Karen Rothstein had seen one of these things. One of these penguin people. And it looked like a penguin, had red eyes. I didn't see it, because when I go, I shut my stuff down. I don't want to see crap. But this gal was going to join the team as a psychic, and she came out with us. My mother and I and her to do the prelim, and she knocked on the door halfway through and went, I'm going home. Goodbye. And that was the last I saw of her. This thing scared her to death. Whatever it was.
Oh,
and I remember walking to the first one in that. I think it was a double wide or triple wide. I remember being the first one to walk in there, and you could see this thing shadow along the hallway wall when I walked in. Yeah, I remember Arbuckle. There's some investigations that beat you, and Arbuckle beat us. That one kicked us right in the butt.
I'm always curious when I hear these stories. What happened to that human being that as they died, they carry that anger over?
Yeah.
It just like they're human beings without the garment, of life on them. And why such stress? Well, a lot of times people are midst of their life and they are angry if they feel cheated. So a lot of times
I had a psychic on staff who I wish was still on staff, and she taught me something with when you run into angry entities like this or like that. Sometimes now you guys out there are going to laugh when I say this, but when you run into them, she told me that sometimes all it takes, because something upset them, so you want to calm them down as much as you can. And she used to tell me to give them a flower. And that's what she would do. She would give them flowers, and it would calm them down right away, because you remember how pretty flowers are, and how peaceful flowers are. And once in a while, I'll use that technique.
Not for a man, though. I mean, you give him a nut and bolt.
Oh, you'd be surprised.
Do a beer.
Like one of the key ones that on the early investigation that I ever went on to begin my ghost hunting career and filming, she ran into one that was very, very angry, and she did give him a daisy. And he calmed right down. So there's things you can do. And I agree with you. I agree. If they were into something like mechanical stuff or whatever, that would be my go-to. Here's a gift for you. But there's ways to calm them down. But that particular case was, Entity 10 California Haunts 4. I can also say it that way. Entity 10 California Haunts 4.
I like
Not
it.
0, but 4. Yeah, that one was something and a half because everything went. If anything could happen, it did on that one. And what got me was another team had gone out before us and completely misdiagnosed what this thing was. They went out there and had a big old barbecue and had like a party. Is what the client told me.
Oops.
But this was completely misdiagnosed by them because they told her that she had nothing to worry about. And all this stuff was going on out there. So we essentially went up to clean up after another team. That's when we went in. Yeah, I forgot Jerry went to that one. It's hard to remember, you know. But this one, I mean, I'm not going to get into it because the lady I think she still lives out there. But there was a lot of mitigating factors in this one of things that were going on where this entity was trying to scare us all the time. He literally was trying to scare us off. You know. But we pushed on and pressed on. Like I said, Entity 10, California Haunts 4.
I've actually had spirits afraid of me in that I would somehow remove them. And actually, I have no power over it. I just wake them up, I call it. So a lot of times if you're dealing with someone who's angry, you say, I'm not forcing you to leave. I just want to know why you're still here. Talk to me. So he might have been in a place where that was his home and he was going to scare you off.
Yeah.
You know? So anyway.
Yep. Anyway.
What's that show, Scooby-Doo? Where are you? Where the bad guy dresses as
Where are you? So, okay, I promised I will go over that EVP stuff we did tonight to see if we picked up anything. But I also promised to do another show, EVP-based, where I can actually access it right away. Because this time I misplaced the other recorder that I had, and I got to find it anyway because I have an investigation coming up. So that way I can feed it right directly into the laptop, in front of you and do it in real time. But that one, if you're going to pick up a Class A, that's the recorder that'll do it, the one I had out tonight. In fact, I have 6 of those. I like them so much I have 6 of them. So, all right. That being said, tomorrow there's a time change. I have an appointment late tomorrow afternoon that I have to be at, so I will not make it back in time for my 6:30 show. So that being said, we're going to have a fun day tomorrow at noon Pacific. I'm going to be working on Yoda for an hour, just an hour tomorrow. And then we'll call it a day, but I have to do this early. Like I said, I've got an appointment I have to be at. So I will see you guys.
Did you say Yoda? Did you say Yoda or yoga?
Yoda. Yoda. So, I wish, what would be funny is if I had like a thing where I could make him jump every time I say Yoda. Woohoo! But yeah, so that'll be at noon tomorrow, so you guys can join me and give me advice on how I'm building it wrong and all that good stuff. But yeah, I'm gonna have to bug off early tomorrow because I have to be somewhere by 3 p.m. Pacific, and I don't think I'll make it back in time for the regular show. So yeah, so we'll be building Yoda tomorrow. Now on Thursday we're back on our usual time, and Sylvie, a woman named Sylvie, is going to be with us. Can't remember her last name off the top of my head, but Sylvie is a cat whisperer. And she's going to be on to talk to us about the talent she has, that she discovered she discovered that she had a talent in the late 70s for talking with cats and people, and how medicinal cats can be for people. And so she's she's a healer via felines. So she's going to be with us on
my cup
Thursday.
says tonight, Cat Mother of the Year.
Yeah, yeah.
And I got chair here for each of the cats.
So she's going to be with us Thursday talking about how cats think, how cats can be medicinal for us. So it should be pretty fun.
Thank you, Jerry.
What did Jerry say?
Oh, right. Oh, Jerry, thank you for the sweet note.
Absolutely.
And Caleb, we don't do readings on the air unless we have a whole night dedicated to it. Once you ask one question, everybody will then call us, and it gets kind of nuts.
Yeah, it's crazy. It gets crazy.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay,
call
guys.
Call it a night, Char.
Let y'all go, and because I got to work on some other stuff, and the dog's sleeping, so hopefully I get to sleep tonight. That would be nice. That he doesn't wake up at 2 a.m. and decide to sing the song of his people again, but hopefully Hopefully it stays that way for a while, but I got to go make my dinner, and then I'm going to come back into the studio and do some other things. But thank you all for coming. I really appreciate it, and I see my sister was in the chat room too tonight,
Good.
so that's
Oh,
cool.
maybe she knows.
Yeah,
Was she in the chat room?
maybe
I didn't
I'll have
notice.
to ask her.
Maybe
Yeah,
maybe she knows what
earlier on.
1953 means.
Yeah, earlier on she was in the chat room. But I will see you guys tomorrow at, people will say noon o'clock. I'll see you guys tomorrow at 12 p.m. Pacific for a nice hour of the Yoda build, and we can just chit chat about things, and like we always do when I build, But yeah, I will see you tomorrow. But I appreciate each and every one of you, everybody on the RSS feed. Thank you, thank you, thank you for doing this. Oh, and George DeRose sent me a donation 2 or 3 days ago. I forgot to mention it. Thank you, George. I appreciate it. He's my buddy in France. So I really appreciate it. All right, I will see you guys tomorrow, and have a great evening. And I'll give you Nancy's information since Nancy's still here. Let me give you Nancy's information. Let me pop it right on up. There we go. I love buttons. I just love buttons, guys. There we go. Websites, nancymatz.com, all lowercase. nancymatzauthor.com. The N, the M, and the A is capped. youtube.com/Nancy Matz Psychic. Help, get me out of this funk. Written by Nancy Matz. Two Worlds, Developing Your Psychic Skills. And The Unwilling Sacrifice by Nancy Matz. And of course, you can get those at Amazon. All right, if you like the show, share it with 5 people. If you hated the show, share it with 5 of your enemies. We're just trying to get the word out. And thank you all very much for coming, and I will see you tomorrow, 12 noon Pacific. Have a great one.
Good night, everybody.